and welcome to Ghazali. My name is Sachin Chatte, and on this program we are going to talk about a singer whose voice has regaled us for decades now. Whether it is romantic songs like Jalte Hain Jiske Liye, whether it's duets like Rim Jim Ke Ye Pyare Pyare Geet Liye, or whether it is melancholic songs like Fir Wahi Sham, his voice has stayed in our hearts. And to talk to us more about him and his work, we have Sahar Zaman with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And Sahar has written a biography, the definitive biography on Talat Mahmood, and she happens to be his grandniece.
Yes, fortunately.
Fortunately,
Thank
yes,
you for
indeed.
having me over, Sachin.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And this was a much needed biography because there is so little that we know about the singers. We know them through their work,
Yes.
but what they were as people, as a person, and what they went through, and about their
Right.
life and the times. There is so little that we know about them. So thank you so much for writing about this.
Lovely.
I'll start off by asking what are your fondest memories of Talat Saab? When we think of Talat Mahmood, we think of that velvety voice.
Yes.
What is it that comes to your mind first?
Warmth. Warmth and affection and a lot of fun. Because, of course, at home he was always granddad, granduncle. And his very often his Bombay home would be our summer house where we would go for holidays during our summer vacation. And him and his son, Khalid Mamu, Khalid uncle, would take us around sightseeing and see if I want to see some shoots behind the scene. But this is, of course, the 80s and 90s that we're talking about. And this is much, much after his glorious years of being the singing sensation. So my experiences, my memory is always full of soft love and good fun. That's how I remember him best as. But in the course of writing the book, where I was actively doing very serious research on him as the singer, the persona, and distancing myself from him as my protagonist, the realization that he was such a phenomenon has changed a lot of things in my head. Yeah.
तो इसकी शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई? मतलब आपको कब लगा कि you are a journalist,
Yeah.
तो you know lots about writing and lots about media.
Right.
लेकिन इसकी शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई? आपको कब लगा कि मुझे इनके ऊपर एक किताब लिखनी चाहिए?
Well, इसकी काफ़ी लंबी जर्नी है because as you said, I'm a journalist and in my entire journalistic career now, about 22 years, I never spoke about my connection with him. No one really knew that I'm related to him. A lot of my colleagues doing Bollywood journalism and all, they just had no idea. I started talking about it publicly around 2017. And the reason that I started talking publicly about it is because I started a tribute concert. It was called Jashn-e-Talat. Like Jashan is like a celebration of Talat. And it started on a very personal, moving experience, that I was driving to my studio for doing my shows and my bulletins. And at that time, my son was very young and he had fever and I didn't want to leave him. And as a new mother, I was feeling really wretched to leave him and go to the studio. So I was driving to work and I just put on the radio and it was his song. He was singing Sham-e-Gham Ki Qasam. And we've heard so much about his soothing voice, calm voice that really eases you, calms your nerves, comforts you. I felt that personally as I was feeling so terrible. His voice was literally comforting me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I felt so immensely grateful and I said, I must do something in return of that gratitude. And I'm connected to him, so I must do something. Then I started the tribute concert series. And we did this for a few years right up to COVID and involved college singers and like helping youngsters to rediscover that treasure. In those concert series, like a concert is for 2 hours, 3 hours, performance hai, dance bhi tha, live painting वगैरह भी थी. I started researching more seriously about his career and then I realized कि ये इनकी जो कहानी है, it's phenomenal because he's an activist, he's a mold breaker, not just a mere singer. No, I mean a phenomenal singer, but beyond being just a singer, there's so much more to pioneering aspects of his career. And I realized कि it doesn't fit in 2 hours, 3 hours. The timing was great and I think unconsciously journalists are just always thinking about timing and news pitch and breaking news.
Right.
So in 2022, I realized कि 2024 इनकी जन्म शताब्दी होगी, and if I want to write something or do something great to mark his centenary, so 2022 is the time that I start writing the book and get it ready. So that's the whole story behind how this book happened.
So, a considerable time has elapsed even since he passed away.
Yes.
So how do how did you go about doing the research for it, and where did
Right.
you gather your facts and stories and anecdotes from?
True. Like I always keep saying that this book is an extension of my journalistic career, because it's involved news gathering, it's involved cross-checking of facts, it involves storytelling, verification, setting things chronologically in the right timeline. So it was a lot of research, of course. There were a lot of family stories at home, which are the more interesting behind the scenes personal stories. A lot of them that have come out for the first time in the book. And a lot of colleagues of him that I got to speak to who are still around. I spoke to some of his co-singers. A very interesting part of the book is his world tours. He was the first singer ever from India to start global tours, and he started that in 1956. So there are a lot of fresh news stories about all the adventures they had while touring the world, starting from 1956. So I spoke to his music arranger, his concert manager, his accordionist, Mr. Enoch Daniels, Mr. Nandi Duggal, who in fact just passed away last week. May his soul rest in peace. And they were all about 91, 92 years old. I was really blessed to have that chance to speak to them, and they were still around and still doing so well.
But just to rewind a bit, he was barely 16 when he did his first recording, and 20 when he got his first big break. So tell us a little bit about the stories that came from that period,
from
his
that
early
period.
days.
So this is a British India that we're talking about in Lucknow, and then his career passes through Calcutta, where the film industry was at that time, and then after independence we moved to Bombay. So it was about
So his start was pretty much in the early 40s.
yes, early 40s. So it was also about recreating the country of that time, recreating the society and the industry of that time. When he was 16 years of age, as you mentioned, AIR Lucknow had just launched as a station. There was AIR Delhi, there was Calcutta, and then there was AIR Lahore and Karachi. But Lucknow had just launched in the 1930s, and इन्होंने बचपन में ही ठान ली थी कि मुझे गायक बनना है. Even though there was a lot of opposition at home, उनके वालिद साहब कहते थे पढ़ाई ख़त्म करो और स्कूल ख़त्म करो. इस हद तक that when he did his graduation, वो music में ही किया उन्होंने at Bhatkhande University in Lucknow, which is still the foremost. मगर जब AIR लखनऊ पहुंचा, this was an opportunity for him. This was the early 1930s. And he said he must try it out. तो फिर वहाँ गए छुप के, बाप से छुप के वहाँ गए, and he was very confident. He was singing on stage in school and college, and he said मुझे तो सब आता है, मैं वहाँ जाऊँगा. जब वहाँ पहुँचे and he faced the microphone, and फिर पता चलता है that there's so many things to learn technically. Your voice changes on the microphone, how to keep in sync with the tabla and the harmonium. So he had to be trained for at least 3 months by the station director there for him to get his first recording. But then he became a recognized voice in AIR Lucknow, to the extent that when he started his graduation in Bhatkhande University, the news spread like wildfire कि वो जो आप आवाज़ सुनते हैं तलत महमूद की, he's actually a young lad, वो अभी student है Bhatkhande में. So that was a lovely experience. Very fresh anecdotes for his fans to read about.
Right, and then it was Anil Biswas who gave him that first big break when he came
in Bombay. Yeah. So first his career, campus recruitment. Campus recruitment used to happen at that time at Bhatkhande. And the HMV label came to his university to pick up talented singers. So they took him to Calcutta. And that is the first part of his career, where he recorded, where you mentioned when he finished his graduation at the age of 20, he recorded his first commercial ghazal. First was Tasveer Teri Dil Mera. That became a blockbuster hit. Then he started his Bengali career at the behest of the great Mr. Pankaj Malik, who said that if you're in Calcutta now, you better learn and sing Bengali as well, because that is also a very big industry. So he had to learn Bengali from scratch. And Bengali songs he always sang in the name of Tapan Kumar.
Right.
And after a stint of about almost a decade, close to a decade, not completely, in Calcutta, which was a huge blockbuster part of his career, then he went to Bombay. And in Bombay, his godfather became Anil Da, Mr. Anil Biswas. Because after independence, the Calcutta showbiz industry was collapsing.
Right. It shifted to Bombay.
It shifted to Bombay with the rising commercial value of Bombay. And a lot of people who decided to stay back in India, they shifted to Bombay. A lot of his colleagues as well. But in Calcutta, what was appreciated as his vibrato in modern Bangla music became a huge problem in Bombay. I mean, somehow people didn't like
The
it.
style was completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't like that vibrato. They wanted straight, stern voices. And this was an unseen problem he faced. He didn't expect it. So that is the role that Anil Biswas played in his life and career in Bombay, saying that this vibrato will be your USP, so please keep it.
He also tried his hand at acting, almost 10,
Yes.
15 films that he did at that time.
Yes,
so
yes.
What did you discover in your research about his acting part and acting career at that time?
I discovered that he was a reluctant actor. And it's very unheard of that someone who's entered the film industry would not want to face the camera. Because people enter with the first ambition of being camera ke samne, actor banna hai, hero banna hai. Wo agar nahi chala, then you think of doing things behind the scenes, or you become a director,
Ji.
producer, and you become a character artist and all. But that first ambition is ke mujhe hero banna hai. And Talat Mahmood just didn't have that, strangely enough. And his film directors and producers realized कि देखो जहाँ तक तलत महमूद का सवाल है, he's the only singer जिसकी female fan following बहुत ज़्यादा है, because singers completely stayed behind the scenes.
Right.
And his photographs that he took for his albums and his ghazal albums and other studio pictures would be a rage. And
He was
he
quite a
had
dashing
he
young
was
man.
very beautiful. I mean, as you can see here, he was very beautiful and charming, and even as a personality, he had that, and they were very surprised कि एक ऐसा आदमी है कि he has an established female following, but he still wants to stay behind the scenes. So they pulled him in front of the camera, and his first film was 1953, which is called Dile Nadan. And there was a huge contest that was announced by the film producer. Who wants to be Talat's first leading lady? It's like a Miss India contest in the
Right.
newspaper. So that kind of a contest was announced in the paper, and lady actors were shortlisted, and then his colleagues were decided. So that was like this big bang entry of him on camera. And he had a few Jubilee hits as well. His film with Suraya, Varis, did very well. Sone Ki Chiriya with Nutan was
Nutan.
very, very well received. And while in the course of my research, I realized that you actually did notice that he was so tight and conscious and shy in front of the camera. And film after film, it took him a while to loosen up. And by the time Sone Ki Chiriya happened, he became so comfortable that he plays a part negative role in
Right.
Sone
And I
Ki
think that was
Chiriya.
also his last film, pretty much. After that, I don't think he did too many films.
Yeah,
on
I think the
screen.
one with Suraya was the last film. And then he decided that bas bahut ho gaya, I want to focus on singing. His fans would send him very worried mails saying that अब आपने acting शुरू कर लिया, आप गाना छोड़ देंगे. He said, नहीं, absolutely not. This is a assurance that I will not. I think deep down he realized his core strength was singing, and he stayed to that. And shockingly, he just left acting.
Right.
He
And
just left it.
by the time he had also become very, very popular as a singer. I mean, his association with Dilip Kumar and many of the other
Yes,
actors of that time
yes.
was also established. Daag was already there, and
Yes,
Dil
yes,
Kahin Aur Chal.
completely. Association with Dilip Kumar was like one of the first singer-actor partnerships we had, because it started in the 1950s. आपने जब अनिल बिस्वास की बात की, so that was the film Arzu, which was of Dilip Kumar, and दिल मुझे ऐसी. So that was the song which was his first Bombay blockbuster hit, and that was also the start of the partnership of Dilip Kumar with Talat Mahmood, where Dilip Kumar's tragedy king phase got defined by Talat's voice.
Right.
And something very interesting, I always quote filmmaker Muzaffar Ali Saab saying this. He was speaking on one of my book talks. He was there for the paperback launch of my book. And he said something so original which I had never heard. He said we always talk about the phenomenal prowess of Dilip Kumar in his tragedy king phase, और वो कैसे अमर थे उस kind of characterization में. He said मगर मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि it is तलत महमूद's voice, कि तलत महमूद की आवाज़ ने दिलीप कुमार को अमर किया. And he completely turned it around. And I'd never heard something like this. I mean, who would dare to say that something else could kind of help or overshadow, not overshadow, but help in that era of his acting. But that was an interesting POV. And that was the power of that partnership as well. But he had great hits with Sunil Dutt, great hits with Dev Anand, Raj Kapoor earlier. Raj Kapoor earlier before he settled into his partnership with Mukesh. So he had hits with everyone.
And both solo as well as duets. I mean, there's this fantastic duet with Shamshad Begum or with Lata ji. So,
oh yes, great duets with Lata Mangeshkar ji.
Yeah, I mean the one that since you mentioned Sunil, that one of my favorite is Rim Jim ke ye pyare pyare geet liye.
Yes, and what a difficult song.
Yeah,
but a beautiful duet.
Yeah. उन्हें शहंशाह गज़ल भी कहा जाता था. So was his love for ghazals right at the beginning, or did it gradually grow over a period of time, or how did his affinity towards ghazal come about?
उनकी पूरी जिंदगी की तैयारी गज़ल में थी, He was fond of Urdu literature. वो अपने AIR लखनऊ के दिनों से he would sing गालिब and मीर तकी मीर. उनके पूरे गाने का एहसास उर्दू शायरी और गज़ल गायकी था.
उन्होंने गालिब फिल्म में भी गाना गाया, दिल नादां तुझे हुआ क्या है.
Yes, दिल नादां तुझे हुआ क्या है.
Which they beautifully turned it into a duet also.
Yes, it's beautiful, and I think he sings Ghalib best. I mean, of course, I could be partial about it, but of course, those songs are just incredible. And the film maintained the original poetry of Ghalib for Mirza Ghalib film in 1954. But he was always, the ghazals never left him. So he had a parallel career in modern Bangla music where he sang Bengali songs. Then he had his mainstream career in the golden era of films. But ghazals always went along, even when he stopped recording film songs. By the 1980s, his film recordings completely stopped because music had changed so drastically that it didn't suit his voice. But he continued cutting ghazal albums. His last ghazal album was called like the comeback of the Shahenshah Ghazal in the 1980s, 1986, if I'm not mistaken. And that his close friend Dilip Kumar Saab had come to launch that album. So he kept cutting ghazal albums till very late, and that remained his first passion, always, yeah.
Right. So you mentioned about his love for Urdu literature and poetry. So one of the hallmarks of the songs that he sang was also great lyrics.
Yes.
They were beautiful songs, whether it's a Fir Wahi Sham or practically all the popular songs that he sang were very, very meaningful in terms of, the poetry in itself.
True.
So do you think it was a conscious effort on his part कि मुझे ये गाना गाना है क्योंकि इतना खूबसूरत है?
Right. No, Sachin, that's absolutely right. It is no coincidence. कोई इत्तेफाक की बात नहीं है, because many times, even in his interviews, he said that he would refuse to sing songs if he didn't find the poetry or the lyrics good enough. So when you notice that while listening to his songs, it was a conscious effort. He never compromised on poetry, of the quality of the poetry in his songs.
Right.
Yes.
Another interesting aspect about Talat Mahmood Saab was, when he started touring the world.
Yes.
As a singer, and this was sometime in the mid 50s. So we're talking about 7-8 years after independence, when it was not a common thing. Probably he was the first one to start doing concerts in different parts of the world. So tell us a little bit more about.
So yes, Sachin, that's right. He was the first playback singer from India to start world tours, and he did that in 1956. And he did that because he would get a lot of fan mail from people based outside of the Indian diaspora, Asian diaspora, who were yearning to have something from back home, And him, along with his first concert manager, whom I mentioned, Mr. Nandi Duggal, whom I spoke to as well, he explained how the kind of preparations that it took First of those, it was seen as an experiment. And in the industry, no one was encouraging him to do that. In fact, they said that this is the wrong decision because right now you are in the peak of your song recordings, you have started film shoots as well. And if you leave that, if you at least take a break of 1 month, aap tour kare, you take a break of a month, that vacuum will be created, and it's very easy to fill in a vacuum. Another artist comes in, another opportunity for someone else comes in. But he took that risk, and he was an adventurer at heart, and I said he was a mold breaker. He took that risk and he went to East Africa. That was his first tour, and that time East Africa under the British were these collective countries of Tanzania, Nigeria and Kenya. And it was a phenomenal success because he was booked for 15 shows and he ended up doing 30 shows, And he was stopped in the middle of trains, stopped at stations and said, get down and perform for us. Our city is not in your itinerary, but you must perform for us. Backstage would get clogged and helicopters would need to be called to clear up for the singer, for Talat Mahmood to enter and perform. But it was a phenomenal success. And when he came back home, it became the buzz of showbiz, कि Talat ka concert hua, itne tickets bike, itna successful tha. And he kind of inspired others then. To start these were his close friend Mukesh Ji started touring. Lata Didi, one of his other close friends, she started touring as well. And inevitably, he would be the first singer from India to do a concert in any country that he explored. Which helped other colleagues and friends to go there.
Pattern.
Yeah, so he kind of formed, he kind of sketched out a global map for them, from East Africa, then he went to the Caribbean. Then the UK tour was very successful, then to the United States. Or 1980s tak aate when Indians started living in the Middle East as well. So he had his concert in Dubai, in Riyadh, which is unheard of because in Riyadh they would not allow music.
Back then.
Yes, back then they wouldn't allow music. They didn't have instruments. तो किसी का हारमोनियम किसी के घर में रखा था, उसको लेके बजाया, and those were the adventures of his global tours, and it's a very, very interesting aspect of the book. A brand new look at Talat Mahmood.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one more aspect of that period is,
Yes.
since mid-60s and life changes, music changes, everything changes.
Yes.
And the kind of music that was coming into Hindi cinema was also changing.
Yes.
And mid-60s onwards, then, his playback singing career was slowly, one can call it on the decline.
Yes.
Or did he choose not to do songs? And how was that period for him? Of the 60s, 70s and the 80s also then?
Absolutely. So that period meant that he started touring more. And he continued cutting his non-film ghazal albums. That continued. तो क्योंकि film recording इतनी नहीं हो रही थी तो लोगों को लगता था he retired or he was suddenly out of the scene. But that wasn't true at all because he was continuing doing his concerts everywhere. He was satisfied with that response because there's nothing like a high or what a concert gives you, that immediate reaction of a live audience. He continued cutting his ghazal albums. Film recordings, I think both things. One, that he realized that this is not the kind of music or orchestra that suits my voice. He knew that his voice was soft. It would drown in that orchestra, which was getting inspired by rock music of Elvis Presley and Beatles. All of those influences came to our industry. So he knew it very well, that there's no point singing in this kind of music because it doesn't suit his voice. In 1964, he had his last super hit, which is Phir Wahi Sham, cult classic, Jahara. He had 2-3 hits from Jahara, and that was his last commercial success. He recorded a few songs in the 70s. In fact, his last release was in 1980. But that's about it. It really did actually dwindle completely. Right. And but as an artist and as an activist, he was very much around. He was very much around inspiring the next generation of ghazal singers like Mehdi Hasan Saab, Jagjit Singh Saab, Pankaj Udhas ji, Talat Aziz. He in fact launched Pankaj Udhas Saab's his debut ghazal album. And whenever he went to meet his brother in Karachi, Mehdi Hasan Saab would come and meet him and have this heart-to-heart conversation with them. So he was very much around the scene like the stalwart and someone who's inspiring the next generation and still doing his own thing as well. Yeah.
There are lots of interesting stories and anecdotes in the book. Which is your favorite anecdote? I know it's a tough one, but
Yes, there's so many favorite. True. I think one which is pivotal to the industry is how he raised the cause of royalty rights. Because of course Lata Mangeshkar ji had started doing that in the 1960s, but that was more at an individual level for her own songs. But Talat Nana, when he became the secretary of the group that they had
Association,
formed, the Playback Singers Association, this was early 1960s, because he was also touring the world and he had an idea how Western labels are dealing with their singers. So he knew about royalty rights. So he came back home and raised that as a collective cause for the entire industry. So the first to join him, of course, was his friend Lata Didi and Mukesh ji, and then followed Rafi Saab and Asha Tai and Kishore Da. It was a 3-month protest in the film industry. So 3 months में you can imagine क्या हाल होगा production house और music labels का कि 3 महीने you have all of these singers to decide कि अब गाना record नहीं करना है. So 3 months studio shut.
right.
That was the impact of the first step taken. I mean, not many people know about it or talk about it, but I think as a collective step, that mic down protest was the first in the direction of results of which we are seeing now, you know. And there's so much that rests on his shoulders. आप हमारे जो independent ghazal music industry है, if we talk about post-independent India, पहले तो of course we had Saigal Saab, K.L. Saigal, but that is pre-independence. But in independent India, he was the one to establish the commercial value of the ghazal industry as a genre of a music industry. And a lot of the ghazal industry of what you have today rests on his shoulders. These are reflections, not necessarily anecdotes, but significant reflections of you know what I've learned. एनेक्डोट तो यही बहुत दिलचस्प था कि एक इंसान जो इतना खूबसूरत है वो एक्टर क्यों नहीं बनना चाहता था. I still don't get it.
Interesting indeed. I'm sure there are many more stories, there are many more anecdotes, but unfortunately time has caught up with us. But you can read them all in Sahar's book called Talat Mahmood, the definitive biography. Thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you so much for sharing all these stories.
Thank you. Great conversation, Sachin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This program was supported by Agio All Stars Sale.
मॅडम सुगंध तर इतलो बरो येता जाणा.
थँक्यू.
टिफिना वांगडा त्यो न्यूट्रिशनाच्यो गुडयो दिवपाक विसरू नका हा.
आता तो न्यूट्रिशनाच्यो गुळयो विसर.
कित्याक?
का या तांदळातूच सगळे न्यूट्रिशन मेळटले. पंचामृता फोर्टिफाईड राईस हातूंत आयर्न, झिंक, फॉलिक ऍसिड, व्हिटॅमिन ए, बी सारकेले 9 मिनरल्स आसात. तर हे झाले नाही निरोगी आणि सुवादीक. तर पुराय पौष्टिक आहारा खातीर
पंचामृता फोर्टिफाईड राईस
असल्यास पुरो.
पुराय पोषणा खातीर